This is Ambazonia Calling. News, analysis, commentary, opinion, editorials. Ambazonia Calling is a co-production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. Welcome. My name is Ntumfoyn Herbert, and I bring revolutionary greetings from our studios in Washington, D.C. to all of you, friends of Ambazonia and fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero and across the globe.
Titles born of no parents in Ambazonia will not cook beans for anyone. This is the monk.
There is no country from the 1990s till now that had independence without going through a mediated settlement process.
Talks on talks. These are the first face-to-face meetings between the parties. My name is Alex Levinsky.
Yes, that song, that anthem.
Let us together rise with Ambazonia, rise for Ambazonia, never to fall. Innocent cheer for Ambazonia Calling.
Ambazonia! Come on! Ambazonia! Go down to Mola and tell
Cameroon's attempt at national dialogue aimed at ending 3 years of conflict around an Anglophone crisis has faltered further.
Party Asanga, what is the problem?
We are not going to accept this super sherry again for them to waste the taxpayers' money that we come here and everything is ready-made.
Who are championing this? You will see those that are championing it, federalists, who have not shed not a sweat, not to talk of blood. So it is a charade.
They are planning alone, they are working alone. I hope they can solve it alone.
The national dialogue deadlocked. The independentists stood their grounds. The war continues. This is Lambert Mbong.
Donc nous avons les moyens de satisfaire nos frères et sœurs du Nord-Ouest, proposant un statut spécial.
We are smoking our own exhaust and getting high on it.
We were treated like second-class citizens in our own father's.
This is a very special edition of Ambazonia Calling, coming to you on the occasion of your celebrations of Independence Day, 1st October 2019, and the debacle of the monologue in Yaoundé.
Oh, freedom, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I'm free.
This is a special 2-hour edition of Ambazonia Calling, hopefully compensating for the fortnight that we did not put out the program. At the end of a very news-packed week, there is going to be plenty in this show. It is completely full. Let's begin with a bit of news. A very tiny news summary because we focus that news summary on the celebrations of the 1st of October. The breaking news that we have at this moment is that the genocidal forces of Mr. Biya continue to massacre, to slaughter Ambazonians. There is an ongoing mass slaughter of civilians in Bali, in LEBIALEM, and in parts of Bamenda town. In one of the incidents on Friday, 5 people were arrested in a neighborhood of Bamenda. 3 of them had their phones searched. They were found to have material and literature in those phones related to the Ambazonian struggle. They were executed by Biya colonial forces, their bodies dumped in another neighborhood. The bodies were discovered Saturday. In Balinyonga, at least 16 civilians and 2 restoration forces are reported dead after security forces opened fire on civilians returning to their homes or trying to return to their homes in the dead of night after they had been driven from them by the colonial forces.
Okay, greeting for all the Ambazonia fighters. Nafima Shadis,
In LEBIALEM in the southern zone, at least 2 restoration forces and 6 civilians have been killed in a series of attacks aimed at dislodging the Red Dragons and targeting its leader, the Field Marshal.
They sleep a lot, but this morning, they sent military where they call themselves specialists, where they work and come down, group by group. There were more than 150.
Reporting suggests that the presidency of La République du Cameroun got very angry by the sheer show of Ambazonian forces on Independence Day.
I say shame for the Republic. They will come meet up the real specialists. We wait them because we want them where they there for Azi now. We don't block all the road them. Back Palace would day, Back Palace for Azi would day, for Nje would day, for Mantam would day. Now they're there for inside media. Now Field Marshal for Ambazonia they talk. War don't start now.
And one reminder piece of news here, it is Chris Anu who is bringing it to you all.
This Monday only, a very, very intense ghost town.
It is the reminder that we've got a Mami Water ghost town on Country Sunday, Monday, to demonstrate to the world that the people of Ambazonia do not grant consent to be governed by the colonialists in La République du Cameroun.
This is very, very important that we send a message to the international community of our disapproval of the so-called national dialogue organized by French-Cameroun.
You are listening to Ambazonia Calling, your space for educated news analysis, informed opinions and commentary towards the recognition of a free, independent Ambazonia. I am Innocent Chia. Stay with us.
What Cameroon has done to us, I want you never to forget. The pain they have brought to bear on this generation, I want you never to forget. Not out of hate, but so that the next generation will remember and make sure they do the things they are supposed to do, never to go through this again.
I will continue to play my part to ask the people of Southern Cameroon to take their revolution into their hands and continue the fight to liberate themselves.
I'm sorry to say, because of France's policies in Africa, in French Africa, the state of La République du Cameroun do not have any pressure on them to find a way to resolve this issue, because they are always thinking that no matter what happens, France will always be there to give them coverage.
Still ahead in this edition, we have The Devil Unmasked with Professor Emmanuel Tatamenta. We have a winner of the Nyamfuka of the Week. And we are not done until you have heard our letter to Joshua. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and enjoy Ambazonia Calling. Barrister Sia Jimvambe has got a reflection for us on what it means to be Ambazonian, and she draws inspiration from the anthem. She's got an editorial for this special edition.
Fellow Ambazonians, comrades in the struggle, I greet you all. When I was asked to say a few inspirational words about the Ambazonia struggle, the first thing that came to mind was the words of a song. One that I'm pretty sure most, if not all of us, have heard or even sung several times. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Yes, that song, that anthem. The first time I really listened to the words of the Ambazonia anthem, chills ran down my spine and tears flowed down my cheeks. It was the only time ever that I have felt deeply affected and really connected to an anthem. I'm pretty sure many Ambazonians, I mean real Ambazonians, share very similar sentiments. However, my prayer, my plea, is that this anthem should be more than just a melody that we identify with or that makes us emotional. Whenever we feel deep anger or hatred towards a brother or sister that we believe is not doing what they should be doing, or that we believe has betrayed the struggle in one way or another, whenever we ourselves are approached or tempted to betray the struggle, whenever any Ambazonian blood is spilled as a result of the struggle and we feel deep sorrow and despair, whenever we are told that the total independence we seek is too complicated, too irrational, or outright impossible, whenever we feel like this struggle is going nowhere and we want to throw in the towel, take a bow, or just lay down and never get up, may we remember the allegiance pledged to the heroes who bore the land with their blood. May we remember that we must continue to fight for, secure, and guard our land flowing with milk and honey that has been bestowed upon us. May we remember that we have risen and must never fall. May we always, always put Ambazonia first. Above all, may we remember that God is indeed the watchman of our nation. And that no individual, no group, no country, no entity, no organization can successfully stand against or prevent what has been ordained by our watchmen. May God continue to bless and protect our heroes inside and outside the homeland, and may He continue to watch over our nation, Ambazonia. This is C. Ajindo Ambi.
We've got a lot to get through in this show. We will meet the director of the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue in this edition. We've got a look back at that wonderful celebration of Independence Day in Ambazonia. We've got the monologue that La République du Cameroun organized, and more commentaries, analysis, and editorials yet to come.
Boo, 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 boo. Whoa, baby. Manya anjanga kunakwa Maye me woina bama Bobo beiba ubei yangzugi Ana figu ama pina kapi Stop Jam chimala amaye nyama bonta Ibusula lilina fata su bonta That's what the king said. That's what the king said to the messenger. Tum tuma bene bwebo Ala anyama bozu zento. This lion down the valley, I know the shepherd them divani. Hey, leaving the lion and a lamb with a broken leg, left at the mercy for the lion just to chop it up. She got her back against the wall. She had to fight for her life. She had to stand, she couldn't die without the fight. Whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, oh, man, the lamb with the lion heart. She's just a lamb with a lion heart. She's a lamb with a lion heart. She's just a lamb with a lion heart. Yeah, she has a heart full of love. She has a heart full of love. Hey, she's a lamb with a lion heart. That's what the king said. The king, if you don't write them, is a paper. Send them from Chinda, make them share and go for quarter. It talk for Isa, say, Mabuti me, Mabuti me, Mabuti me, Wokome, Bobo Beba, now and then, now I'm back. If was a book on Janga Basakunapa, Fotundu Basakunankai. I've seen a lamb looking straight in the eyes of a lion. In the eyes of a lion. She says she's so feared deep inside the eyes of a lion. In the eyes of a lion. That's what she said. That's what the king dreamt about. That's what she said. Welcome back. Well, look at. Oh, baby. Now I'm there. Now I'm back. You put some boon down. The lamb with a lion heart. She's just a lamb with a lion heart. She's a lamb with message.
In other place.
We're starting off this program with some sounds. I wish we had television to go with it. We would have provided you with sights and sounds of Independence Day celebrations in Ambazonia. We'll begin out where the Amber Navy made its first appearance on that flyboat. Here they come. There was a perfect communion between the people in the diaspora and the people back in the homeland. In Geneva, Switzerland, there was a demonstration outside the United Nations offices there.
And we come today in front of the United Nations here in Geneva to make this symbolic action that for 56 years we have been enchained, we have been in bondage, we cannot talk, but we have started with the first phase of unchaining ourselves.
The dramatization of a chained Ambazonia.
Fellow Ambazonians, we have gone too far to get back. And our people, we have lost so much to turn back.
2 Takumbans and 2 young people completely denied freedom.
It's time we take the biggest of all the risks so that we get this freedom.
As they walked around a makeshift exhibit of the atrocities of the war crimes, and the genocide unfolding in Ambazonia, symbolizing the extent to which an international conspiracy held the people of Ambazonia in bondage.
Through the international conspiracy, were put in chains from the 1961, when the third option was eliminated, the option of being free. We were only given 2 options to vote whether to join Nigeria or La Republic. That was the beginning of our chains.
Anything else happening in the diaspora was overshadowed by the sheer beauty and fabulous nature of the celebrations unfolding on the homeland, beginning almost everywhere with the hoisting of the flag, the singing of the anthem, and followed up by a march past ceremony.
The powerful symbol of Ambazonia being hoisted there, the flag, the national flag of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, just hoisted, and the anthem is about to be sung.
Attention! Respect.
The anthem.
Hail this town of glory, we in Ambazonia pledge our loyalty. Praise to our Savior, who granted us freedom. Legends of our heroes, who brought this land with their blood. Glory to glory, praise and honor. Yeah, in the nation, we will make our own.
Respect. At least we clap for ourselves. 4 on 10, better.
And here now for sounds from one of the biggest ceremonies held by the ADF, the Ambazonia Defense Forces.
General, I found the biggest number. Seated over there, dressed in the pink dark suits, supported by a very massive population, more than 23,000 people coming to support this particular National Day under the canopy of General Efang, the big number.
Taking great precaution to prevent any further mass slaughter of civilian populations, Boss Carl in Kumba pulled the population from out of town to a nearby village where the celebration of independence held for Kumba residents.
Kumba people there, una there, no? Meta Kota people there, Fiango people there, Kosala people there, Boyaro people there. That means all Kumba there, no? Okay. We thank you very much for some security reasons. Why that we not na matches that town we deserve to bring down here for the village. I dey welcome any man who come for participate with we and for celebrate the Independence Day. Happy Independence Day!
As everywhere else across Ambazonia, the outbreak of chants continued to ring through.
Everybody is very happy as they are singing their Ambazonian song. They are happy for the Independence Day. Today is the 1st of October 2019.
One of the most famous, the most celebrated of which was Until We Reach BOYO.
Until I reach BOYO, I will never ever leave my journey halfway. Oh, until I reach BOYO, I will never ever leave my journey halfway. Oh, until I reach BOYO. While I reach BOYO, until I reach BOYO. Until I reach BOYO, I will never ever leave my journey halfway. Oh, until I reach BOYO, I will never ever leave my journey halfway. Oh, until I reach.
Boss Carl in Kumba probably had one of the biggest turnouts for Independence Day celebrations, thanks to a very methodic mobilization of residents from every neighborhood in the Kumba area.
For some security reasons, we refused them not to march in town, so we decided to bring all of them down here in our own native village. Ambazonia hoye! Ambazonia hoye! Ambazonia hoye!
The brave warriors of Bui State were out in their numbers as well.
The Independence Day by the Amba fighters, Ambazonia military here this morning in Kumbo.
And they took over Tobin, the former seat of the colonial administration in Kumbo, with the town now in the hands of Ambazonian Restoration Forces.
It is historic. People have come from far and near to write their names on golden plates.
March past in Kumbo was to the sound of I Remember When I Was a Soldier.
We are letting Ambazonians and the world have to know.
Ambazonians in Konengi have just hosted the Ambazonian flag in commemoration of the 1st October, which is their Independence Day. This day is being celebrated right here at the Lion Den in Konengi Central Prison, Yaoundé. This wonderful morning, Tuesday the 1st of October 2019.
From the depths of Nkondengi Maximum Prison, Seseko Ayuktabe sent this word. Our people have shown on this 1st October 2019 that they are truly invincible. The Yaoundé king will live in denial until the day of our exodus, like Pharaoh did in Egypt. God bless the people of Ambazonia. It is clear that we will settle for nothing less than the restoration of the independence of our homeland. Make no mistake, it is independence or resistance forever. Signed, Seseko Julius Ayuktabe. In the fundum of Mankon, the restoration forces, the Bitakbekwi, made sure that they hoisted their flag at the entrance of the traditional palace.
Our flag this would fly for air. Or the man send me the whole war see one day so we don't take our country back. My we don't know. We know about the Bitakbekwi force and the Mankon warriors. Yes, for it's a Mankon. A palace that so while they show the whole world me they see one day so all thing for this side now we don't get this side now. Not different man get them.
Besides Kumba, Bui, and BOYO, one other big celebration held in LEBIALEM. It is not too clear for Ambazonia Calling what was going on, but it appeared on some of the video that the Field Marshal was also accepting a traditional title as king.
Dancing what is called in the LEBIALEM dialect Alunga Chaba. You can see them coming out from the traditional forest, well decorated by His Majesty the Great King of LEBIALEM, sponsored, financed by the King, the Great Field Marshal of Red Dragon.
All across Ambazonia, the peoples of this land rededicated their struggle to God, admitting that it was a God-ordained revolution.
To pray because we have somebody who is bigger than the world, called Mr. Jesus Christ. He's the biggest power of the world that died for us.
In BOYO State, General RK, bringing out the best dressed unit all across Ground Zero, dedicated the celebrations to the memory of the hundreds of civilians that were slaughtered on the 1st of October 2017 on Restoration Day 2 years ago.
We know on this same day, the 1st of October 2017, the barbaric military of Mr. Foca of Cameroon massacred hundreds of our innocent civilians.
And the march past in BOYO State was to the tune of Where is the Prodigal Son? Call him to come without delay.
Community School.
But of all the sound coming out of Ambazonia, it is the young men, the young women who thrilled everyone and stole the day. It is the young people, the young boys and girls, the elderly that stole the day with their support to this revolution. As this young man here singing, "Let Seseko free." Go down to Ngola and tell Bia to let Seseko free. We have got a real estate deal made in heaven. If you are pre-qualified and are interested in a single family home in the Silver Spring area, contact ambercalling@yahoo.com. Write to ambercalling@yahoo.com. Only serious prospective buyers are welcome. The marvelous celebrations of independence across Ambazonia inspired more than just those who were participating or those watching. They inspired poets as well. Here is my brother Innocent here. He was visited by the Muse. Here's what the production looks like.
From north to south and east to west of Ambazonia, I saw bravery epitomized. I saw children, boys and girls, older brothers, older sisters. I saw parents, mothers and fathers. From north to south, from east to west, I saw them all abandon fear behind, in spite the odds of paramilitary brutality, the endless killings, the senseless genocide, hopelessness in stone. I saw them embrace hope uncertain, but hope nonetheless. Not for them, it didn't matter, for a future, for their kids, for their nieces, for their nephews, for their neighbors, for their motherland. From north to south, from east to west, I saw joy. People were dancing, they were laughing, tears were happy. Not for pay, I saw beauty, even in rags. I saw harmony between the population, among the population, and their defenders, brave freedom fighters. From north to south, from east to west, I tell you, I saw guns, not Dane guns. You saw them, you know them, wielded by fighters. West Point not, from Israel not, from Paris not, from Kutaba not, from Yaoundé not, but they marched with every step, with unshakable pride in their dignity, in their personhood, in their country, for dear Ambazonia. From north to south, from east to west, they scorned Yaoundé, major national dialogue. What a waste, what a sham. Judas Iscariot hailed 30 silver pieces, all suicide-clad, together with ghosts, those at Tanga buried, and then resurrected, New Bell inmates, all for hire, as fake generals capture and destroy, confessions for ICC, my people perish, they lack knowledge. From north to south, from east to west, all you generals, all you commandants, all you fighters, mighty foot soldiers, I hail you, I thank you, pray for you, pride in you, for your sacrifices, for your bravery, for your love, and may God, the Lord Almighty, our battle axe, lead you always, contend for you, be your refuge, lift you up, nurse your wounds, confound your enemy, grant you victory, battle after battle, day after day, night in, night out, providing every need, replenishing empty pockets. From north to south, from east to west, may the diaspora be the diaspora, stomping the UN, stomping the Congress, stomping their churches, stomping their schools, stomping their jobs, everyone an ambassador, everyone soliciting help, everyone seeking solutions for motherland Ambazonia. We must forgive, not impunity confuse. Stakes are high, not La République du Cameroun again. Better take poison, but why do? With Ambazonia waiting, bravery on display, hope reigning eternal, possibilities are endless. Ambazonia is rising, Ambazonia is rising, rising and rising. Daughters are rising, sons are rising, children are rising, parents are dreaming. Let us together rise with Ambazonia, rise for Ambazonia, never to fall. Praise God. Innocent Chia, Chicago, Illinois, October 4th, 2019, for Ambazonia Calling.
One thing that the Biya regime has done extremely successfully has been to fumble the football on a permanent basis, to do one thing to hurt Ambazonia and find out that that one thing they did to hurt Ambazonia so badly helped Ambazonia so much. It is the view of Lambert Mbong that that is exactly what happened with the so-called major national dialogue, or was it major national monologue?
The national dialogue that just ended in La République du Cameroun, pretentiously convened to resolve the conflict in the northwest and southwest regions, has been a blessing in disguise for the Ambazonian struggle for the restoration of independence. The political drama demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt the ineptitude of the Biya regime to resolve the conflict. In fact, it served as the last nail on the coffin of the supposed federalists who, at taxpayers' expense, showed up in Yaoundé begging to be listened to only to come out depleted and deflated. The dialogue, or was it monologue, has shown beyond reasonable doubt the bad will of the colonial regime, that there is a way out of the crisis besides a negotiated settlement. The dialogue deadlocked, and thanks to the fact that the independentists stood their grounds, the war continues. What a blessing for Ambazonia that the attempt at portraying the issue as an internal affair that could be easily resolved failed woefully, and yes, we can rightly claim that we have exhausted all local remedies. No amount of cosmetics and window dressing is going to solve this problem. Ambazonians have sworn that this is the last opportunity to resolve this issue once and for all, and so are not going to give in to half measures. Biya, who hurriedly accepted the Swiss-led process for negotiation, thinking he will outsmart the Ambazonians by saying he's ready, and the Ambazonians are not, has been caught in his own game. His attempt to wiggle himself out of the Swiss deal by hastily convening the dialogue has failed, and the hunter has become the hunted. Like our people say, fufu don't tight for a hand. But if you needed further evidence of the failure, the images from Ground Zero paint the picture of the courage and resilience of the Amber Boys. The march past that took place in Tobin, in Kumbu, the brilliance of General RK of the British Southern Cameroon's resistance forces in BOYO, Field Marshal and the Red Dragons in LEBIALEM, the great Amber warriors displaying military strength in a boat, chanting revolutionary songs among others, are building blocks of this struggle. Even though the colonizer continues parading our homeland and terrorizing our citizens, it is clear that they have lost control of the land. Our self-defense forces are winning, and bigly. The general debate of the United Nations General Assembly has ended, and the dialogue meant to placate the General Assembly has failed. Now comes the Swiss-led negotiation process. For those still waiting out for some other process to begin, I offer you the words of the Englishman soon to be canonized, Saint John Henry Cardinal Newman, and I quote, "A man would do nothing if he waited until he could do it so well that no one could find fault," end of quote. There are many ifs and buts about the Swiss-led process. Let the perfect not be the enemy of the good. Yet remembering that a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. There will never be a best time. There will never be the best people. It will never be a good process. Negotiations are messy. And knowing the French and the nasty games they play, especially given their stranglehold over La République, Ambazonians must forever remain vigilant, fortifying the defense of the homeland and never forgetting that defense without diplomacy leads to self-destruction, and diplomacy without defense leads to surrender. A luta continua. This is Lambert Mbom from Ambazonia Calling.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Calacuta Republic of commentary, opinion, and editorials. It takes a lot of foolish to get into the Nyamfuka Hall of Shame, but in this edition, we're going to be presenting the new inductee into that Hall of Infamy. Just stay tuned, it's right ahead in the Nyamfuka of the Week. Welcome to our special interview segment, The Devil Unmasked, The Truth Out.
My name is Alexander Levinsky, based in Geneva.
Ambazonia Calling welcomes Alexander Levinsky, who is the Africa Director at the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue. the Swiss NGO that is a technical partner with the government of Switzerland in the Swiss-led process for a negotiated settlement in the Cameroons. Now we asked Alexander, what are the origins of them getting involved in this process?
Back in December 2018, some of your groups asked the Swiss government to open a channel of talks with the government of Cameroon. And the Swiss diplomacy asked us to help them achieve this goal.
Let me mention one detail here, that the organizations that contacted the Swiss government included AGOVC, the IG, and others. Can you tell us what is the objective of HD and of the Swiss government? What is their objective?
Our common objective to HD and to the Swiss diplomacy is to achieve a negotiated, fair, and durable political agreement that puts an end to the violence, that addresses the grievances of the parties, and opens a new chapter of pacific coexistence.
How is HD trying to achieve this objective you've just stated?
One, by preparing the parties. We need to have around the negotiation table parties that are legitimate, that are cohesive, that have a reasonable negotiation strategy, and we need to build support for the process.
Could you explain what are the different stages in this process?
The stages are, after the preparatory phase, talks on talks. These are the first face-to-face meetings between the parties. They aim at agreeing on the structure, the pace, and the agenda of the negotiations. The parties will then agree on what is called confidence measures.
What are they?
Confidence measures are aimed at testing the willingness of the parties to negotiate, to agree, and to implement decisions that have been agreed upon. This can be release of prisoners, ceasefires, humanitarian arrangements, or any arrangements that can facilitate the negotiations themselves. We will then engage into the negotiations themselves and reach partial and eventually a final agreement.
Now, most people wonder once they hear there's a negotiation, they think it is going to succeed. But there are many negotiations that do not succeed. Do you have a guarantee that these particular negotiations will succeed?
There is no guarantee that any negotiation leads to an agreement. This is up to the parties.
Many Ambazonians point to the fact that the Biya government and the Biya regime spend a lot of time in Switzerland, that they are in bed, kind of, with the government of Switzerland, given where they bank, given where they go for holidays, given where they spend vacation, and given where they go to a hospital. Have you taken sides? Do you support one of the parties in this conflict?
We are not champions of the cause of one or the other party. We are not judges or umpires. We do not decide on behalf of the parties. We are not pacifist preachers, saviors, or teachers. In the end, what matters to us is that there is a deal, and that deal is satisfactory for both parties.
The people of Ambazonia are looking for justice. They are looking for something that addresses the root causes of the problems that they have. They're not just looking for peace, like peace of the cemetery. So, are you just peace builders?
We are not peace builders. Peace builders are organizations that lead dialogues, that facilitate dialogues, that aim at creating an atmosphere conducive to peace. Eventually, we're not human rights activists. There are organizations whose mandate and mission it is. We do not indulge in that. We aim at getting settlements, negotiated settlements that are binding and put an end to the conflict.
If you are not just seeking peace in this process, what are you looking for?
We are mediators. We put together parties to a conflict. We structure a negotiation process that then leads to a full-fledged peace process.
And how do you do that?
We try to build a coalition around the process to keep a positive pressure on the parties to raise the profile of the issue and to reap peace dividends that can support the peace process and support the settlement of the war. We are neutral, impartial, and independent. And we have to walk the talk. We evolve in a heavily charged political space where every word has its importance, every gesture has its symbolic. So we need to keep the confidence of the parties, and we need to be extremely careful. I guess you all have the same questions as everyone has. Can this process lead to an agreement? Are the parties willing to negotiate? Is there sincerity? We will only know once we enter in negotiations.
Do you have any advice you would offer to Ambazonian groups? Because, many Ambazonian groups are in factions over this issue of negotiations.
What we know is that no conflict has ever ended without some form of negotiation and some form of a political agreement. Unity is key. If the parties are not united, their negotiation position is weakened and the whole process is weakened. Positive attitude is key. You need to have a compelling and brief narrative. You need to show a willingness to go to peace. You need to be patient. Peace processes are not linear. There will be setbacks and there will be progress. But in the end, we have to move towards the goal of achieving a just and negotiated settlement. And in the end, we all have to show humanity. People are suffering on ground zero, and we owe to them to put all our efforts in trying to end this conflict.
Thank you very much, Alexander Levinsky. He is the Africa Director at the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, the Swiss NGO that is a technical partner with the government of Switzerland in the Swiss-led process for a negotiated settlement in the Cameroons. There is perhaps no better way to exit this interview with Alexandre than to return to the announcement that was made by the 10 liberation movements that came together along with the military wings of some of these movements to put together Team Ambazonia. We are in the Swiss city of Montreux. Today is Sunday, the 22nd of September 2019, and Team Ambazonia has just been formed. Comrade Ebenezer Akwanga.
Leaders and representatives of Southern Cameroonian, aka Ambazonian Liberation Movements, on Sunday agreed to constitute a unified political military platform in view of negotiations with La République du Cameroun to be known as the Ambazonia Coalition Team Act or Team Ambazonia.
Annabelle Chi.
The agreement was reached at the close of their third preparatory meeting held September 20th to 22nd, 2019 in the Swiss city of Montreux.
Chairman Cometa Elvis.
ACT welcomes all existing and recognized restoration movements that are supportive of a negotiated settlement. The founding members are the organizations that have signed onto the Swiss-led process, viz. AIPC, APLM SOCADEF, FSCWO, IGNSC, Morisk, Rouen, SCOOP, SCNC.
AP, Sako Ikome.
The Republic of Ambazonia, ROA, of the godfather of Ambazonia, Fon Gojidinka, and the grandmother of all Ambazonian restoration movements, the Southern Cameroon's restoration movement SCAM of Dr. Christopher Atta, signed onto the process. Other restoration movements that participated in Montreux as observers have expressed interest in joining ACT pending internal consultations.
Bafami Gojidinka.
While not participating in the so-called national dialogue, evidently a domestic exercise announced last September 10th by President Paul Biya of La République du Cameroun, ACT reiterated its commitment to seek a negotiated settlement and encourage the Biya regime to stop pursuing a war it cannot win.
Emmanuel Taylor.
ACT warned Ambazonians not to let their guard down as the Biya regime
continues to show callous indifference to the plight of the people of Ambazonia. Since Mr. Biya declared war on Ambazonia on 30th November 2017, over 12,000 Ambazonians have been slaughtered, with millions internally displaced, forced into exile and refugee camps, or sheltering in the bushes and forests.
Kisito, Elad, Logan.
Upon consulting with international organizations currently based in Ambazonia, ACT is acutely aware of the huge humanitarian cost of the war and, in Montreal, renewed its commitment to the Geneva Conventions. It announced its willingness to continue to facilitate access to neutral and independent humanitarian organizations in order to alleviate the suffering of the civilian population.
Joel, Zama.
ACT is equally committed to the dissemination, teaching, and enforcing the respect of the rules of international humanitarian law by all Ambazonian restoration forces. ACT encourages Ambazonians to pursue their struggle for self-determination and to defend themselves against the invaders from La République du Cameroun.
Vincent Mundama.
ACT welcomes the continued support of the international community for a peaceful path to the exercise of the right to self-determination, self-government, and sovereignty for the people of Ambazonia.
Emma Olson.
ACT extends its gratitude to the government of Switzerland and the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue for their support in mediating the negotiations. It expresses special appreciation to the government of Canada, the African Union, United Nations, European Union, Commonwealth of Nations, and the government of the United States and the United Kingdom.
ACT stands ready to engage in the first face-to-face talks on talks to agree on the modalities of the negotiations whenever La République du Cameroun is ready. Done at Montreux, this 22nd day of September 2019, and signed
Ambazonia International Policy Commission, AIP.
African People's Liberation Movement, APLM, SOCADEF.
Federation of Southern Cameroon's Women's Organization, FSCWO.
Interim Government, IGNSC.
Movement for the Restoration of the Independence of Southern Cameroons, Maurice.
Republic of Ambazonia Nationalist, ROAN.
Southern Cameroon's Congress of Peoples, KUPE.
Southern Cameroon's National Council, SCNC.
The Republic of Ambazonia, ROA.
Southern Cameroon's Restoration Movement, SCARM.
And that is the statement from out of Montreux, Switzerland, this 22nd day of September, a very special day for the people of Ambazonia. Team Ambazonia is born. If peace means accepting second-class citizenship, then I don't want it. If peace means keeping my mouth shut in the midst of evil and injustice, then I don't want it. If peace means being complacent and accepting the status quo, then I don't want it. If peace means being passive, then I don't want it. If peace means a willingness to be exploited and humiliated, then that's the kind of peace that I don't want. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Mabaminda, na usa with the gozo. Something is killing me slowly, and I'm feeling so lonely. But this thing I must to talk, oh. All my people, they for bush, oh. And our children are they go for school, oh. But nobody fit to talk, oh. We get to plenty, so many things where we really want to complain to you. See these people where they kill us, not the people where they get for protect me, yeah. Our children they for prison, our leaders they for prison. Now they calling for dialogue. Now who and who go talk, oh. That's why we pray to God. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our people are dying, and our mothers are crying. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our children are dying, and our mothers are crying. Yeah, but I don't know what's up, oh, at all, oh. This war is bigger, and one man of it put a stop, oh. So make we put them all together, oh. I see plenty people don't die, and the house they went up, and I saw the people they need so far. Everybody running helter skelter, the children they suffer, there is no food and shelter. Our children down the suffer, while the leaders living la vida loca. Yeah, so now we start with the go so Cameroon, no. We get to plenty, so many things where we really want to complain to you. That see these people where they kill us, not the people where they get for protect we, yeah. Oh, no. Our children they for prison, our leaders they for prison, but they've been calling for dialogue. Now who and who got talk, oh. That's why we pray to God. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our people are dying, and our mothers are crying. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our children are dying, and our mothers are crying. Okay, let's take a minute of silence for our brothers and sisters who have lost their life in the struggle, and our mothers who are living in the bushes, our children suffering in the bushes with no food and no shelter. We pray that the peace return in our land so that we can live in peace, peace forever. That's what we cry for. We get to plenty, so many things where we really want to complain to you. See these people where they kill us, not the people where they get for protect we, yeah. Our children they for prison, our leaders they for prison, but they've been calling for dialogue. Now who and who got talk, oh. That's why we pray to God. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our people are dying, and our mothers are crying. Heal our land, heal our land, heal our land. Console our children are dying, and our mothers are crying. Say we get to plenty, so many things that we really won't complain to you, Daddy. Now we start with the go so. Mabaminda,
Barrister Sia Jumvambe says Ambazonians have got to leave the dream of that revolutionary, and she evokes the real guy, Bob Marley, the man who sings Zimbabwe, and she brings it home to you, my people in Ambazonia. Here's Barrister Sia Jumvambe.
It's simply amazing, in fact, blood-chilling, just how much this particular piece by Bob Marley titled Zimbabwe fits the Ambazonia liberation struggle almost like a hand in a glove. Replace Zimbabwe with Ambazonia, and it's as if you're looking through a clean glass of clean water, crystal clear. It's as if you're following the events and challenges of the Ambazonia liberation struggle in real time, listening to the story of Ambazonians, the story of a people resolved to fight for their freedom. A people calling out to others to join them in their fight. A people asserting their right to decide their own destiny. The words that tickle my mind the most are, soon we shall find out who is the real revolutionary, because I don't want my people to be contrary. Soon we shall find out who is the real revolutionary, and I don't want my people to be tricked by mercenaries. Too close for comfort? Too conscience pricking? Certainly to some, but not to the real revolutionaries. Those who are thinking right and doing right by this revolution and by the suffering people of Ambazonia. To those who confuse, manipulate, sabotage, and trick, otherwise known as the fake revolutionaries, these words are very troubling, damning, and prophetic of their impending exposure and doom. The fundamental question for all Ambazonians is, what type of revolutionary are you? What type of revolutionary do you want to be remembered as? A real revolutionary or a fake revolutionary? This is C. Ajimbo Ambe for Ambazonia Calling.
Ambazonia will be developed not by those our parents call the long crayons, not those empty big book people who call themselves elites, but by the army of hard-working citizens willing to roll up their sleeves and get dirty.
The foreign and local NGOs and journalists suddenly crusading for schools' resumption are not doing so out of altruism and would be hard-put to deny the charge of hypocrisy and self-interest.
My love for you, girl, I know if it take you out of sight. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh. I do anything. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh. Everything. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh. I do for you. I do anything for you, eh. Baby girl, I do anything for you, eh.
This is a lesson that every Ambazonian should know by heart from real politics. The world won't roll over just to please the heart to satisfy in the ranks of our people. Those who choose to be spoilers will be free to do as they please.
I recognize the fact that even those I consider to be egoistic or to be selfish, I recognize the fact that the intent is good. People simply think I have the best route to Boya. I have the shortest way, the easiest way. I recognize all that.
The search for a completely neutral country will never be successful because there is no such thing as a perfectly neutral country to serve as mediator.
We should trust in our cause that is embedded in truth and it's God ordained, and we should hope for the best while expecting challenges.
Our job is to ensure that the negotiations work for what we seek and that our leaders and negotiating team do not sign onto any deal that falls short of outright independence for our homeland. In other words, our destiny is in our hands, not in the hands of the mediator.
Where is the war in southern Cameroon? Is the war at La République? No. So who has crossed borders? La République du Cameroon. They need to ask La République du Cameroon to cease fire, because who also drew first blood? La République du Cameroon. So you can ask someone defending to stop violence.
The job of Ambazonians today is to make the Swiss-led process be the equivalent of the comprehensive peace agreement whose implementation by the United Nations culminated in the independence of South Sudan in July 2011.
Drum roll, please. And welcome to our Nyamfoka of the Week segment. We don't do foolish, but when there are capital fools out there, we make it our duty to find them, and every week we crown one of them the Nyamfoka of the Week. Veronique Vatimfe is back, and she's got our review and lineup of the kings and queens of foolish for this week.
Finishing in third place this week are those members of the diaspora, religious and traditional leaders, and leaders of so-called opposition political parties and civil society organizations who attended the BIA monologue in Yaoundé, claiming to do so as Ambazonians or Southern Cameroonians. God punish them all. We are referring here to people like Barrister Lisingendive and Paddy Asanga, who traveled from Europe at taxpayers' expense. We are referring to religious leaders like the Cardinal and bishops of the Catholic Church, and to traditional leaders like Fon Mokete, as well as to political leaders like Ni John Frundi and Barrister Akeremuna, who knew they were lending some level of credibility to an exercise in futility. The above cited and other birds of the same political color are the third place finishers for this week's crown of shame, the Nyamfoka of the Week.
Nyamfoka them all.
Finishing in the position of runners-up is Barrister Agwonkongo, who this week proved once more to so many Ambazonians that the person they clamored for his release from jail is not exactly who they thought he was. Besides turning his back on fellow Ambazonians, Barrister Agwonkongo lent his pen this week to a ready-made global campaign to sell the sickening outcome of the Yaoundé monologue to the world. The effort includes the placement of an opinion piece published by the Washington Post, in which, as one of a trio of co-authors, Agwonkongo lavishes praise on the outcome of the just concluded monologue. In outlining possible solutions, the article completely fails to call for the withdrawal of troops from, as well as an end to colonial occupation by La République du Cameroun. That is the one thing, in addition to independence, that must happen for any lasting peace to return to the Cameroons. Agwonkongo is this week's second place finisher for the crown of shame, the Nyamfoka of the Week.
Nyamfoka them all.
Winning the crown of shame this week is the regime of tyrant Paul Biya, who thinks he can wrap wool more tightly around the face of Ambazonians by planting people within the monologue to call for special status for Ambazonian. If Mr. Biya did not already know, Southern Cameroons has special status from being its own country, with its own independence, and inhabited by a people different from the people of colonial Cameroon. This is another effort by the regime to offer conditional freedom to Ambazonia, an offer that is dead on arrival, of course, and one that will not be helped by the barbaric crimes the regime continues to perpetrate, film, and disseminate across the world. They do so relying on their spy within the UK Royal Navy. We are particularly disgusted by attempts by La République to sell the lie to the world that Amber Boys buried a woman alive, only for the woman to be resurrected at the monologue. We are horrified by the actual beheading of a prison warden, Florence Ayafo, and the hiring of the services of my country people them within the UK Royal Navy to make believe that this is a crime perpetrated by Amber Boys, for being such monsters as to even meditate such crimes. The Pinyin operatives of the Atanganji Boys are this week's winner of the Crown of Shame, the Nyamfuka of the Week.
Nyamfuka them all.
This is Veronique Vetimfe for Ambazonia Calling.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Kalakuta Republic of Commentary, Opinion, and Editorials. One person who did not go to the monologue, who did not have to go to any monologue or any dialogue with the Biya regime to know that the regime is a monster regime, that it is satanic and evil. One person who did not have to verify is Abdul Karim Ali. On Equinox television, way ahead of the dialogue and way before he was arrested and dumped in the dungeons of La République du Cameroun, Abdul Karim Ali already said it very clearly. Here's that interview.
We've not heard your voice since the President of the Republic announced the national dialogue to find a way out of the Anglophone crisis and other socio-political problems affecting Cameroon. What's your take on this?
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd. I just praise God and I ask Him to send blessings to the Prophet and all messengers that have been sent. Yeah, you can say that you've not heard my voice because, well, it's not an important subject for me. It's actually not a dialogue. I'm surprised that Southern Cameroonians are in that presidency will bring out such communiques. That in English would be a diatribe.
It's not an important subject for you?
Yeah, it's not an important subject because when you want to converse with someone, you have to sit and determine what kind of conversations you need to have. Is it a debate, a dialogue, a diatribe, or maybe a monologue? And this one falls in between a diatribe and a monologue. So it makes it less important. And you can see that would have been an estimation initially, but now it's conclusive. You can see the charade going on with the charade that is supposed to go on, but already going on with people fighting for money. You can see the select group to go there. You can already see that, to me, it's not an important thing so far as Southern Cameroon is concerned.
National dialogue. The President of the Republic said a grand national dialogue. And you say it's a monologue? Why do you say it's going to be a monologue?
Yeah, because that's what it is, actually. Who are the warring parties here? The federalists who are jumping left and right and collecting money to go and represent who they have no mandate for. Have they fought any war? Have they been killed? No. So who is fighting with what? The government of La République du Cameroun is fighting with Southern Cameroonians who they have termed terrorists. These people refer to themselves as restorationists. If they would engage these people, then it could fit the qualification of a dialogue or a debate. As it is now, it is not even a monologue, it's a diatribe, a case where there is one opinion that is supposed to raise emotions, barbrow the opinions of others, or make them forcefully reason with them. This is what is going to happen. You can see the mandates that we are having is by and large not legitimate. Go and ask the people what their representation is, and you will realize that all the names you've seen flying in the air, chopping money which is not already gone in the air, we know this is what it's all about, have no legitimacy on the ground.
But the President of the Republic said armed groups were going to be invited, those who are in the diaspora were going to be invited, and all persons were going to be brought on the board, even though what we are seeing now is apparently going away from that, because we have lists of representatives to consultations at the regional level made up of militants of the CPDM and to about 80 or 90%.
You're pushing me to go into the textual and linguistic criticism of that paper that was read by the President of La République du Cameroun. Well, you can see that paper is filled with false dilemma and equivocation. There's a lot of confusion. First of all, he wants to dialogue, but he doesn't know who to dialogue with. At the end of the day, he cherry-pick self-selective people that he wants to dialogue with. So this is, I think it is really not a good subject for me to address because I find it not important. And who are armed groups? I thought they were terrorists. And what do we define as armed groups? Those groups have to be defined by his terms. Let's understand who he's talking with. And what and who is the diaspora? We have to get clear definitions for these things, and then it could begin to make sense. But as I said, the case between these two historic children of the United Nations cannot be resolved even with the fairest of dialogues. It has to be a debate and a negotiation. A debate is a case where two different opinions are on the table. I'm trying to convince you, trying to convince people. To begin with, there are two different opinions. This is where we are. We have to stop pretending. So you see, who are championing this? You see those that are championing it, federalists, who have not shed not a sweat, not to talk of blood. So it is a charade and predetermined to fail.
Earlier in this newscast, we heard one of the inhabitants of Limbe in the opinions compiled by correspondent Davison Maimo saying, if the separatists are not on the dialogue table, this event is going to produce no fruits. It's not going to produce the expected results. What do you think about that?
No, he's 100% correct, but I'll add more. Separatists, which you address as that, which I'd say restorationists, will not be on a dialogue table. They will be on a debate and negotiations table. This should be taken clear and clear. Look, you can kill me today. If you want, go and kill my entire family. Kill many families. It would come to a debate. Why? Because that is exactly what it is. Federalists and unionists are championing all this. You can see for money. They have no case for themselves. Talk less of case for the entire people of Southern Cameroon. And you see, I don't know, what did Peter Mapanyi Mosonge come to do in Bamenda? To collect opinions. Those opinions did not even survive the day on the table. They were thrown out the window. So what that, I don't know who...
Philemon Young and later Dr. John Gote and so on.
No, that guy is a class prefect, Philemon Young, and he just came and behaved like a senior prefect who is supervising supper in a refectory and left. And this other one also came for parade to show up that he's a new prime minister.
No, those are senior top officials of this republic that we are talking about. So
I'll address that. There is a man called Judas Iscariot. He's one of the earliest Christians. He's actually the fifth person Jesus Christ speak to help you Christians understand Christianity. Do you respect him today? Why don't you respect Judas? Because he's a traitor. Is he your age mate? No, he's 2,000 years older than you. He saw Jesus, who you call your Lord. But today you insult him. There's another one called Abu Lahab and Abu Jahal. Those who betrayed Prophet Muhammad and insulted him. We Muslims don't respect them. Why? It's not because they didn't have good status in Saudi Arabia or in Jerusalem. No, but because they are not representing their people. So please, when we are here, when I'm on this podium...
Are you saying that the authorities, the Prime Minister and other persons who have been championing the cause for a return to normalcy, for a return to peace in the northwest and southwest regions of the country are not worthy of respect, are not representing their people? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, well, you can define respect in various forms, but are not representing their people. That is evident. You can't talk about peace without addressing justice. Have these people been just? The answer is no. Are their children being slaughtered on a daily basis? The answer is no. Did they see baby Martha being killed? The answer is yes. What have they done tangibly? There's no representation. And if, Babila, I will be anywhere, the first thing I'll do is that I'll represent my people. I'll represent their lives and their sweat. In all fairness and all honesty. So, I just brought this to say, when people expect respect, they should produce respect. If you and I cannot respect Judas and Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl and Pharaoh, I wonder what we call respect today. Respect begets respect. If you cannot give respect, do not expect respect.
Anyway, the national dialogue has been convened and is scheduled for the 30th of September to the 4th of October. But you seem to be indicating that what is going on today is just some sort of a drama, some people have called it, which is not going to yield the expected fruits. What should be done?
No, a drama is a senior thing in cinematography. You can call it a sketch in Form 2, maybe Form 2, Longla or Progressive, not even a boarding school. It's not going to work. That's a simple answer.
What should be done?
What should be done, we've said it and we're going to say it 1 billion times. You're going to release every Southern Cameroonian in the jail. You're going to demilitarize the zone so that people could stop being afraid. So that I now can stop being afraid. You are going to sign an accord that those that cannot come to this country because they are afraid will be able to come back and go to their homelands. And then you're going to sit on a debate and negotiations table. Look, it can take a century if we're ready to go that route, but that is the end. We are going to have it. Not necessarily Abdul Karim, not necessarily all the names you hear in the diaspora, not necessarily, but it's going to happen. And if we go to school to learn so we can understand and solve problems, this is an inevitable truth. If we agree it is true, because Albert Einstein says the failure to accept limitation is the failure to refuse change. And if you want to start changing big things, start changing the small things. I'm calling on all of these people who are now jumping with money and looking for new suits and new autogos to go to Yaoundé. They should stand in the mirror, look at that mirror, talk to the person in the mirror, ask the person in the mirror if it's okay. And if they want to start changing anything, they should start by changing the person in the mirror.
There should be negotiation.
It has to be. That's how it's going to end, Babila.
All right, negotiation between the government and the Anglophones?
No, between La République du Cameroun and the people of Southern Cameroon. It is a bitter pill. You know, when you take medications, nobody likes medications.
We have one country, La République du Cameroun, the Republic of Cameroon. So are you talking about negotiation between the government and the people of the Northwest and the Southwest regions?
No, a government does not negotiate between its people. But historically, you know, these are two countries. I don't know if you still need history classes on that. We've said it here many times. These are two countries and
which came together and became one.
There is no time. I need someone to show me how and when La République du Cameroun took ownership of that territory. There is no time. They came together based on respectful and gentleman's agreement, which has not worked. So they have to sit and negotiate.
Legal minds have been highlighting the point that there was no union treaty.
No, legal minds don't need to highlight that. From two students, there is no union treaty. You need to, Professor Anyangwe brought out an 18 pages of Resolution 1608. You need to, and what bothers me most, let's even assume there was a union treaty. Is that how you treat people who came into a union treaty with you? Kill them, maim them? No. So I'm saying that it's bitter, but at the end of it, it's a bitter pill. You want to take medications to get well. Sometimes it's not tasty in the mouth.
My name is Barrister Fro Johnson. I want to pass this message to the gangsters in Yaoundé who are managing La République du Cameroun now, because I know that it's no longer Paul Biya managing La République du Cameroun. I'm sending this message directly to you. If you don't want that La République should burn, release Abdul Karim Ali immediately. This is a young man who has not done anything wrong. He has not violated any of your laws. This young man left the Swiss-mediated talks in Switzerland, arrived Douala on Monday, and a local television station in your country invited him, and he barely answered the questions that were posed to him. How come you have arrested him? You took him to their so-called detention center and their so-called torture chambers called SED in Yaoundé. You tortured him and you are detaining him. I am being informed that you have transferred him to Kondenge's prison. For what? For what? We Ambazonians do not belong to your country. The only reason why we find ourselves in your country because all the embassies are in your country. And this young man came to see the Swiss ambassador. All of you managing the country now will go down. All of you. The international community is watching. All of you will find yourselves in the Hague. But for today, release Karim Abdul Ali.
On behalf of Team Ambazonia, I join my voice to that of Barrister John Friso to call for the immediate, unconditional release of Abdul Karim Ali.
Our youth demo, they can't finish. Our boys demo, they don't finish. From Manfred to Boya, from Bamenda to Southwest, no shade every day, oh, killing every day. People they die every day, like say they been a chicken. My people live, prayer is the key. Oh, may we pray, oh. Make we pray, oh, make we pray, make we pray, oh, make we pray, make we pray. Ramagade, legede, oh, Ramosatala, Rosa. Ramagade, Lika Brazandala, Jesus.
Do not forget, we've got that new segment that's coming up, Big Mob Corner. Jackery Day, Big Mob Day, Tory Long, na time short.
Oh, na 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 na. The cracks. Rastaman love me. Everybody love me.
Ambazonia's freedom, Africa's liberation. Our theme is coined from the very teachings of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Independence of Ghana is not complete until Africa is totally liberated. If Ambazonia's freedom is not achieved, then Africa cannot talk of its liberation. So we have come to Ghana to start a new dynamism in the continent of Africa.
Ambazonian groups have unanimously rejected the outcome of the so-called major national dialogue of La République du Cameroun. Here's Chris Anu on behalf of the IG group, summarizing some of the points with which nearly every Ambazonian liberation movement agrees.
As neighboring enemy nation, French Cameroon has no legitimate mandate to determine the fate of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. French Cameroon's so-called major national dialogue and its resolutions are therefore null and void and of no legal effect whatsoever in the territory of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia and to its sovereign people. The people of the sovereign Federal Republic of Ambazonia will resist the colonial rule of French Cameroon and will continue to defend our people and our territorial integrity till our flag is raised permanently in BOYO and our heroes honored. The world has finally seen through this theater so-called dialogue the real intentions of French Cameroon to redouble its assimilation of us, to develop new strategies of enforcing colonial rule and escalating the genocide. Throughout the duration of the so-called major national dialogue, French Cameroon intensified the slaughter in cool blood of armless southern Cameroonians and Ambazonian civilians. They intensified the rape of girls and women, the torching of many more civilian settlements, and the devastation of the civilian subsistence economy, driving many more civilians across the border to neighboring countries and forests. Many more Ambazonians were abducted and killed or interned in concentration camps where they are subjected to egregious inhuman treatment. The interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia reaffirms its commitment with all our goodwill leaders and patrons of Ambazonia to attend the Swiss-led peace initiative and other initiatives organized by the United Nations, the European Union, and its constituent state parties, the African Union, the United States of America, Canada, and other concerned African countries. The momentum is on our side. This is the time we seize on this momentum to form our Ground Zero Defense Forces. Mr. Biya is a gift that keeps on giving.
Ramagade, legede, oh, Rabozadala, Brozagade, Lika Brazandala, Jesus. Papa Godo, intervene for we, do for we, as you do for the Israelites. The way who they suffer, in their life say you don't forget we. Papa Godo, intervene for we. Orphans are crying, widows are crying, fatherless children are crying, the less privileged are crying. Oh, may we make we pray. Oh, prayer is a key. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, make we pray. Oh, make we pray. Oh, make we pray. Oh, make we pray.
Big Mob Corner. Jackery Day, Big Mob Day, Tory Long, na time short. In lieu of Big Mob Corner today, we've got that sketch from Amber Boys, the script that was passed along to those Amber girls that turned out to be Amber Boys on the stage, the ones that were supposedly marginalized in their own country. The script was just so beautiful. It turned out in a sketch, and that sketch is finding itself in the Big Mob Corner.
Hey, young man, come here. Where are you going to with this data Yangopo? Eh? You just come and walk inside my compound like that? No wonder the bingo have been hollering. So it was you that was spying. Eh?
Sir, I stand here for the fact that I was one of those girls who in the bush stole Yangweva.
Come again.
On the fact that I was one of those girls in the bush.
So you're a girl? So you are a girl, and that is why you and the other girls went to the bush and was stealing all the fruit. You was not the team cover. You was steal mango. You was steal pawpaw. And as if that was not correct, you was born the bush. Is you Moses? Tell me now that you have worked yet and come to my own parents. Why should I not call the police? Eh?
Some of these reasons are very simple. You understand? We were treated like second-class citizens in our own mothers, fathers. Some of us are degree holders, and some of us are educators, educated, and yet we got no jobs in our own mothers. Father's land and mother's land.
That's why it was when and the stolen guava. Eh? Is guava catch crop? How can guava not give you job in your mother's land or fatherlands?
So I came here. Sir, I came here so that we can dialogue. We can dialogue.
You came here so that we can do what?
We can dialogue. Dialogue. Yes. So that we can dialogue.
You want us to dialogue? You want us to dialogue. So what does you want now we should do? What does you want us to do now?
So the balance in power. There should be balance of job market. And a company should be created not only in one side. It should be created in other side. And there's a deep sea port which is in Limbe. The deep sea port for many years now it has not been. But I hear that some years ago there was Kribi. That was a greater something. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. There was no all this thing like this, but you were still when I stole guava. Eh? So who was now influencing us?
Our country people.
What is them does?
Our country people. Say I came here so that we came here to apologize that we are ready to lay down.
Hey, I'll do what?
We are now ready to lay down stick. We realized that some of us were manipulated. Some of us were manipulated by these our country people, and then we were manipulated in the rightful way.
So if they manipulated you in the rightful way, you shall went and stole guavas. Eh? So and you have come down with your dialogue. Yes. You don't want to be stealing guavas again, eh? Yes. Okay, as you can see, the dialogue table is already dead. Eh? So that we can dialogue. When we finish dialogue now, you shall go and tell your other guests. We are again also. What is happening? You could have stand. Let's dialogue. Eh? You could have stand. Let's dialogue. See as he's there. And he said that he's a gay. That is a gay. You are educators. Educative. That they balance for is it balance for job opportunity, job market.
France 24, the only network at the beck and call of the French government that you could have imagined would support the monologue ongoing in Yaoundé, reported Wednesday that it was over. This thing was a sham. It wouldn't work. And speaking to a specialist on the Cameroons, Max Byrne, from out of Washington, D.C., they said the onus remains on the regime of Mr. Biya.
Cameroon's attempt at national dialogue aimed at ending 3 years of conflict around an Anglophone crisis has faltered further. On Wednesday, delegates reportedly almost came to blows at the government-organised talks in Yaoundé. Most opposition figures have stayed away or walked out after having dismissed the 5-day meeting as being a farce. Thousands of people have been killed and 500,000 forced from their homes since the unrest first erupted in 2016 over calls for more English to be used in schools. That later escalated into a brutal armed secessionist conflict between armed militia and soldiers. Max Byrne tells us more about why things disintegrated between delegates on Wednesday.
Prior to the dialogue commencing, right after it was announced, many were under the impression that this was not a genuine attempt to actually resolve the Anglophone crisis, and that, in fact, it would be a monologue within the ruling elite, and in particular, President Paul Biya's CPDM party. And what happened today demonstrates that, unfortunately, that fear appears to be coming true. Many walked out because they claimed that only CPDM members were being given the opportunity to speak, and also the commission that is focusing on decentralization has claimed that the form of state is not up for discussion, which in effect means that the government is keeping their ground on claiming that under no circumstances will there be a return to federation. So unfortunately, many feel that the fears that have led to some not participating in the dialogue are coming true, and that it's not a genuine attempt to resolve the crisis.
So the talks never started off on a particularly good foot, but despite that, despite those who turned their backs on the dialogue, do you think that there is still much of a chance of it achieving anything much at all?
Unfortunately, no, because prior to the talks, many said, well, we are not going to participate because this is not genuine. And those who did participate did so believing that there might have been some event that has led the government to change its overall position. And the events of the past few days have made clear that under no circumstances is the government going to change its position. And furthermore, the secessionists, who are the ones fighting for an independent state by the name of Ambazonia, are not participating in the dialogue. So, no, unfortunately, there's really no way that this could do anything to resolve the crisis under the current circumstances.
Do you think that the onus to resolve this lies any more with one side than the other?
Well, it's imperative to go back to 2017 when this crisis started. And the fact is that this crisis started when the government violently clamped down on peaceful demonstrators. So therefore, it is clear that the onus is on the government. While the secessionists have committed many human rights abuses themselves and have also refused to enter into some forms of dialogue with the government, particularly informal dialogue or track to diplomacy, it is clear that the onus is on the government, both due to the decades of marginalization, the denial of burning down villages and other human rights abuses, and the basic fact that it is the actions of this government, the government of Paul Biya, that has led to this crisis breaking out. So unless the government changes its position, which they have not yet, unfortunately, there's no way that this crisis can be resolved.
Father, bless us. Oh, Jesus Christus, guide us. Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty.
Not everyone has the political clairvoyance of someone like Abdul Karim Ali, so some Ambazonians had to go to that monologue to find out what he had already predicted. Here's one of them. Former presidential candidate, Barrister Keremunu.
I don't know anything that we have been discussed that can lead us to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing. And people are joking with the future of the country.
What do you mean by people are joking?
Well, because if you put up a show, which is not to have a semblance of a dialogue, when you're not having one, that's a show. There was no participation, there was no discussion between the members, there was nothing done to make sure there's full participation. I was called a participant. I'm not a participant. I was a spectator. Nothing happened so far as I'm concerned. It was just a show. Nothing happened.
And you're looking forward to continue, and you'll be part of the commission? You don't yet know?
I have more important things to do, okay? I have other meetings to attend. I don't think that I'll come to a meeting, which I think is important for the future of my country, to go through this. I'm very grateful I was invited to see. It's always good to come and see what's going on. I've seen, and, well, I hope those who are doing this have a very good plan to make sure it works. Because if it doesn't work, they will have to be accountable to future generations. When you have commissions, when people who are the origin of our problems are in those commissions, how are you going to solve it? How are you going to solve it? We are, in English, what do you say? We are smoking our own exhaust and getting high on it, and that's sad.
What should be changed in the way things are unfolding here?
We should have a dialogue. Dialogue means people talk. We plan together, we work together, we resolve together.
Thanks.
They are planning alone, they are working alone. I hope they can solve it alone.
Who are they planning alone and so working alone?
Don't you know who is planning this?
No.
Did you plan it?
Who are those who are planning alone and working alone here?
Don't you know who is planning this? You're a journalist.
You said they are planning alone and working alone.
But don't you know who is planning this?
I don't know. I want to.
Well, you find out, and you'll be a better journalist.
All right. Thank you, Barrister. Thank you. Thank you, even though you have refused to answer my question.
All of the sky, it's obvious. Look at the documents. Who is planning it? Is it me?
Are you referring to the government, the administration, the CPDM?
I thought it's the government occasion. It's organized by the government.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister.
Barrister Keremuna was not the last person to quit. People were fleeing from the monologue, like people running for safety on board the Titanic just before it went down. Well, some of the chop-broke-pot CPDM militants from the diaspora were crying foul.
Padi Asanga, what is the problem? We are not going to accept this super sherry again for them to waste the taxpayers' money that we come here and everything is ready-made. You heard it from his mouth. I was not the one saying it. Mr. Jacques Bimai said at Equinox Television that he was going to be pending from the Diaspora Commission and to the Decentralization Commission. What is all that?
They knew very well how corrupt the system is. Barrister Lisinge, coming in from London, said he saw money flying all over the place.
Some government officials, they were bribing people not to talk about Anglophone problem decentralization. I know the name, and I've warned them if they don't say anything, I will write to the presidency. They were corrupting people inside. Oh, don't talk about federalism. I will give you money, I will pay you. I know the name, I know the person. They were doing it inside there. And I told some people, I'm going to say, oh no, don't say it, don't say it. I came here, I said, I have open minds.
An open mind? Give me a break. An open mind to receive whatever was given?
They paid us from the taxpayers' money, paid our flight to come, and they had chosen people to speak, whereas they had paid our flight. Who spoke for the diaspora, Babila? Can you answer me that question?
Padi Asanga, who thought he was going to a dialogue, has found himself, he says, in the middle of CPDM barons having siesta.
People are coming from nowhere to talk about the Anglophone problem, which they don't know, and they were some of the people were even sleeping. If you were in that room, I tell you, it would have been a scandal. Most of these old people from the CPDM spend their time sleeping, and they say they are talking about the Anglophone.
And in the middle of the Makala party, where everybody accumulates positions and makes sure that people show up to decorate chairs, not to speak for their constituencies.
Let one of these CPDM big hooks come and tell us who spoke for the people in the diaspora. Who spoke for the diaspora that were caught here?
Well done, Padi Asanga. Ashuka Ngongoli.
So, restoration train is our freedom train.
We've got to do it together, building trust amongst leaders and making sure we make compromises that can take the Ambazonian people to a new horizon.
Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty.
The message we are sending out to all other Ambazonian groups is that we have to work together
because it's only in working together that we would achieve what we want faster.
Oh, Holy Spirit, lead us on the restoration journey of our liberty.
If we do not do that, we are going to be having South Sudan.
So, restoration train is our freedom train.
On the occasion of the opening of the so-called National Dialogue in Yaoundé, the BBC did something they don't do very frequently.
Nearly 3,000 people have died and 500,000 people have fled their homes since fighting broke out in 2017 between the army and armed fighters who want independence for Cameroon's two English-speaking provinces.
They brought in someone they called a specialist.
Kili Awono, a Cameroonian journalist and director and campaigner at Internet Without Borders.
And they interviewed an Ambazonian activist, Mark Barretta.
Mark Barretta is a separatist activist who was invited to today's talks by the Cameroonian Prime Minister.
Mark Barretta explained why he's not going to the dialogue.
My response to the Prime Minister of Cameroon, I have said repeatedly that I am not against dialogue. I want to take part in a dialogue which is duly organized in a neutral venue with a mediator and observers to follow actually what is happening.
It is worth recalling that while Mark Barretta was invited, along with Tapang Ivo, to come to Yaoundé, they were also scheduled to appear before the military tribunal on charges of terrorism, on charges of secession. That court case has just been postponed to November 6th.
When we look at the content of today's dialogue that President Paul Biya has called, it talks about issues of bilingualism, issues of education, discrimination. These are the issues that has made our people to pick up arms to fight.
And the specialist the BBC brought on the show knows nothing about the crisis.
Mark Barretta, who was speaking just now, was kept incommunicated for several days, a few weeks ago, during a mutiny in the Kondengi prison. The response of the government, which was very repressive, with imprisonments of journalists, of activists, of lawyers, has led to the situation today where there is a virtual separation, with separatists fighting on the one hand and government forces fighting on the other hand, and civilians being taken hostages by both of the parties in those particular regions.
Because she's who she is, she manages even to contradict the BBC, which knows that this is a PR campaign.
So do you just think, very briefly, do you think that this is not going to get anywhere at all? Is it just a PR exercise by the government? No, I think citizens are going to take advantage of this situation to discuss very major issues and voice concerns and grievances to the authorities.
Ambazonia Calling. You are in the heart of the news shrine. Call us the Kalakuta Republic of Commentary, Opinion, and Editorials. The Biya regime is chasing its shadow right now, and you have insiders in that regime like Ntumfoyn calling for the institution of a special status for Ambazonia.
Donc nous avons les moyens de satisfaire nos frères et sœurs du Nord-Ouest, proposant un statut spécial.
À quelle heure, as they would say in their end?
Notre constitution, à son article 62, le permet.
They were warned that there will be a time when they will beg and nothing will happen.
La loi peut tenir compte des spécificités de certaines régions dans leur organisation et leur fonctionnement.
Now this is the time for begging.
Proposer dans le cas d'un État unitaire décentralisé un statut spécial pour les régions du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Je vous remercie.
Too late, Mr. Ntumfoyn. Too late, Yaoundé, because the people of Ambazonia are gone, and gone forever. It is not only regime apparatchik like Ntumfoyn who are begging at the monologue.
And I'm begging everybody inside this place that the only option that can really bring down this issue.
Traitors like Yannick Kawakawa are begging as well.
When we all were in that forest, this is my leg, I was shot. And it's not that. I was also shot on my chest. I escaped. I was captured by the military. I was in their camp in the night. They did not see me.
And warning of doomsday if federalism is not adopted.
If it happens that this thing ends without federation, what is happening is just a minor. It will be more stronger, and I would say it will be more powerful. Then if we are here, people are trying to kick against federation, I think there will be a bigger problem in short time to come. Thank you.
Well, the regime had better know this. Yani Kawakawa and his friends are not speaking for any Ambazonian, and no federalism, no form of federalism will ever satisfy this never-again generation of Ambazonians.
The lamb with a lion heart, she's just a lamb with a lion heart. She's a lamb with a lion heart, she's just a lamb with a lion heart. Yeah, she has a heart full of love, she has a heart full of love. Hey, she's a lamb with a lion heart, that's what the king said.
On this edition of Ambazonia Calling, we're going to be talking a bit about the Swiss-led process. I've got with me in studio Mac Cheps. Mac Cheps is the leader of the Republic of Ambazonia Nationalists. And I've got AP Sako Ikome. No introduction needed there. Our people want to know, anyone can take the floor. Is the Swiss-led process real?
Those that are making this possible, the Swiss government or HD, are serious. This is a government and a very serious organization. So the opportunity is real because we gave our accord to the Swiss government that we are ready to pursue a negotiated settlement. And they gave us the same assurances that the government of La Republique has done the same. And so this is no joke, and this is the very the foundation that we needed for a mediated settlement to begin. So we are not into any fool's paradise. This is a reality. Probably some people thought it would take more years for us to get to this point where the international community is responding and is making this mediation possible. But this is real.
Some of our people, when they hear HD, they say, oh, the NGO.
The mediation actually is done by a state party. It's the government. It's the government of Switzerland that is mediator here. It's not HD. But HD provides the technical support, the expertise that the state actor, the mediator, actually will have to use. You don't expect the mediator in chief appointed by the government of Switzerland to do that. These people who have experience, who are able to build capacity with those who are participating in this exercise, both sides, both ways, they have to bring they have hired their hands to make sure that they bring their expert contributions to this process so that it works. So that's how it is. It is the state that is the mediator. That these people are those who have to provide the necessary expertise to make this process work.
So most important clarification there is the fact that they're a technical partner of the government of Switzerland, and they are acting in that capacity with delegated powers from a sovereign entity, which is the government of Switzerland. Let me bring in Mark Cheps here. There's plenty of talk out there about how this is all about people wanting to go out to Switzerland, to stay as long as possible, to shuttle on the planes, get in the nice hotels, have a cozy time. Is that what you guys are up to?
Absolutely not. Nobody is going on a vacation here. In fact, everyone is taking lots of risk. People committed to this process, they are taking risk, putting their necks on the line in order to ensure that we have opportunities that are credible. We don't miss out on taking advantage of those opportunities. So I think any talk about people trying to stay at hotels and all of those is just and aside from the real issues.
But one other thing that seems to be in the way is that people keep saying, hey, these people, they want to be the negotiators. They don't have the capacity to be negotiators.
Well, we've made it absolutely clear from the very beginning that we have no intention to be the negotiators. To be a negotiator, it requires a certain competency, and we have even gone to the extent to say that within Ambazonia, we don't even think there is somebody who has negotiated independence. So if we are going to talk about experts, then we have to use that measuring stick. So the leaders want to understand what this process is so that when we have the opportunity to pick a negotiator, we can pick a negotiator understanding what the process is, give them a mandate, understanding what the mandate we are giving them is, and be able to get feedback when they come to us. And so we've already recognized that we are going to have technical teams to assist in the negotiations process. We're going to look for the best negotiators for Ambazonia, and that's all that we want to do, put forward our best foot.
I'm going to come back to AP Sako here. There is this talk that not enough effort was made to bring everybody to the table, that somehow the groups that were on the table just abandoned the other ones, and that even when they say they want to be together, they're not being sincere. What can you say to any group that's out there that would love to join that's not yet at the table?
That's not true. We started by having these workshops, which are opportunities for us to come together so that we can be informed about the process. Every time official invitations were issued, and we did our best to contact our own, especially some that are already prominent and frontline leaders, people we have their contacts. We made efforts to contact them. Even the government of Switzerland and even HD has gone out of their way to make sure they contact some of our leaders in this movement to participate in this process. So it is not true that we have singled out some people not to be invited in this process. Even right now, we are still expecting that those who have maybe changed their minds and they think this is an opportunity, we have to make use of this opportunity and I want to join the queue. They are welcome. When you reject negotiation, to participating in a negotiation, you are presenting yourself as a bad actor, because you cannot reject peace when war is going on. Whoever rejects an opportunity for peace without bloodshed is seen to be like somebody who is just a warmonger and who doesn't mind if blood is shed.
Let me go back one small step to this demonstration that we had in New York. And one of the things you said in your speech was, it looks like people are stuck in some balok, as they would say in Pidgin, and that they really do need controversial.
Somebody really needs something. If he can pray, he has prayed for it. If he can plead, he has pleaded with people that, please, can you help me? I really need this. Then just at the point of success, at the point of delivery, that which he needed is almost about to get to his door. Probably they're receiving a knock at the door, and he takes the back door and he leaves the house. When a person is always at the near success, success comes, but before the success comes in, he leaves. When he cannot recognize the fruit of his own labor, he cannot recognize opportunities. He sees opportunities as something wrong. He sees his helpers as enemies. He sees open doors as dangers. When that happens, even in our traditional setting, somebody thinks that something is wrong with you. And that's like what is happening. Because this is what we have been asking for from day one. We wanted to resist the enemy until the international community is engaged in our process, in the process of finding peace. And this is just what has happened. The first opportunity we have for the international community to appoint and approve and endorse a nation that has decided to superimpose itself here now as a mediator, accepted by both sides, Only for somebody who says he has spent 20, 30 years trying to get this happen, turns his back away and says he's not going to be part. No matter what you do, no matter even if the government knocks at my door and bows down, I'm not going to accept. Then something is wrong. So for somebody to see that coming clearly from a nation that has been distinguished in the area of mediation to be impartial, for somebody to see that it is genuine, it is not a lie, that it is even endorsed by the international community, important nations like the UN, like the US, like the EU, and organizations like the United Nations. For somebody not to fully identify that as an opportunity, there's a problem.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of God suffered violence. Let the violent one takes it by force. You're underground king. Boom. You the cry, about what the cry. Don't tire, about what why.
Mama let it cry, cry. We are the cry, cry. About what they cry, cry. We the cry. Una free me, Mama let it cry, cry. We are the cry, cry. We the cry. Una free me, Mama let it cry, cry. We are the cry, cry. We the cry. Una free me.
Sick and tired of this like Republic una free. Amango today inside pay, you know the free. We president on the side say all man of yay. Grand ambition, fuck that slogan, no yay. Presido, the pay jaga jaga. Una take all till the weepers scatter. They need 102 students for Senate address. Una select 2 Anglophones, escape address. Bia, Yang, Dijon, prison. Escape who know why man show BBC they for prison. They don't tell all we then start for colors Anglophones. Fuck up the government, we ain't tools. Minister for communication, no fit talk good English. Southern Cameroon independence, that's my wish. No good third roads, no seaports, no light, no water, no airports. President, you overget fake promises. Wait to happen, failing us, you bring us diseases. But men are the cry, we are the ask why. You don't come for that chair, you don't go shake, you go die.
Mama let it cry, cry. We are the cry, cry. About what they cry, cry. We the cry. Una free me, Mama let it cry, cry. We are the cry, cry. We the cry. Una free.
Too many chiefs and no Indians. That's a complaint that Ambazonians are beginning to give, as far too many call themselves President, His Excellency, Her Excellency. Too many titles means too many cooks in the Ambazonian kitchen, says the monk, who thinks Ambazonians must put a stop to the use of loud-sounding, meaningless titles.
When titles of all shades and colors come out of the woods to be impressed on citizens, it is in fact a good thing for citizens to drill down to the kernel and find the root and reasons for chosen name types. Remember how the name Cameroons makes citizens from this sub-region to be easily nicknamed shrimps. Now, not that it's a bad thing, but as an African, I hardly can find an indigenous African community that will appreciate being called shrimps. Now, to titles like His or Her Excellency, etc., etc. No disrespect to any humans, but what does that really mean and or imply in the context of Ambazonia? How does that translate to Mamimbong in Jenka village? What exactly does Excellency do for her? I would say nothing. Titles in a vacuum don't cook beans for anyone. It's just a practical fact. Unless there is some fundamental aspect that I'm totally missing, I will learn. I'm hoping that we're not in the business of copying protocols from systems that we know and have experienced that are dysfunctional to the core.
I was watching television the other night, and I saw an ad for an investment firm. And their slogan, their motto was, "It's time to bench the benchmarks." That also applies in part to protocol.
Dwight Macaulay, former chief of protocol for the government of Manitoba.
Protocol is found everywhere in many circles, far outside of diplomatic circles. Schools have protocols. The military has protocols. Golfers have protocols. Hospitals have protocols. Penitentiaries have protocols. Protocols are found everywhere, every day, in virtually every section of society. And you practice protocols several times each day in your workplace. You do the right thing at the right time for the right reason.
That was Dwight Macaulay, former chief of protocol for the government of Manitoba, in a TED Talk sometime in 2016. We can push the argument, if argument it is, to discuss the protocols of interaction and transactions between citizens in any given community of humans. In this case, Ambazonia. It can become an intellectual exercise to really drill down to the bones of how that should work and how it should be spelled out for everyone to be able to comprehend and apply as prescribed. It is what literate democracy is about, if you ask me. It is not easy to leave habits unless with conscious actions to nip all the accoutrements that have hung on our necks for a century now. It is indeed a very tough job to turn a ship lost in sea and safely bring it to shore in a raging storm of evil, trials, and tribulations. The people of Ambazonia are innocent but suffering people who have lost a lot of time, and titles born of no parents in Ambazonia will not cook beans for anyone. This is the monk from Ibalikumato for Ambazonia Calling.
This is Ambazonia Calling.
Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And I call on all Cameroon soldiers to lay down their arms within Ambazonia and to turn their arms against the very system that has made them slaves in the land of their birth.
For more stories from around the world, go to the World Wide Web at themissionstribune.com, compassfreepress.com, and africafreedomnetwork.com.
Here is our letter to Joshua.
Dear Joshua, did I hear right? You are stopping proceedings against 333 innocent people that you were holding in your jails. And you want the world to clap for you. You want the world to acknowledge that this is action, reconciliatory action on your part. You are a criminal. Only criminals try to do such things in the hope that the favor is returned. Did you just say they were being held and tried before the military tribunal for misdemeanors? Are you kidding me? I thought it was for high crimes, rebellion, secession, terrorism, and that kind of stuff. Misdemeanors? Really? And just like that, the monologue has come and gone. Drama, theater, cinema of the first order. Nothing to show for it. A meeting of clowns and political bootlickers whose only job at that conference center was to kiss up to you. Oh, how the mighty had crumbled. Akamumfumu begging for special status for the people of Ambazozo. Ntumfoyn for once did not even remember that he was one of the 6 that started this fight when they pulled out of the East Nigeria House of Assembly and returned to Southern Cameroons. He did not remember whether he speaks as a man who is 100 years plus or as an adolescent, 14 and irresponsible. A man like John Frundi unable to fit into his old shoes. The man who used to thunder in Yaoundé would tremble, was unable to find his voice from that podium, booed and shouted down by hoodlums you had hired from Briqueteria and elsewhere. People you had raked around and collected like what the cat dragged in and brought into that hall to play various roles. A Yannick Kawakawa who could break away from protocol and finally let the Holy Spirit speak through him. The bishops acknowledging Ambazonia is gone. John Gute unable to admit that the emperor has no clothes. All this happening while Nkunkuma sits on the throne of the Fangbulu tribe, hiding away in the forest of Mvomoka. The monologue is now on, speaking to myself here. Thank you, Joshua, for the miracle of the resurrection of the woman buried alive. Don't be so tickled. The world is laughing at you, not with you, Joshua. The world knows the show you've put up. It's just scored an F. I wish you were the only disgusting thing to decry about this monologue. Alas, there's so many of you. The Agbonkongos who ate their words, the political parties that showed up for the envelopes, the so-called independent delegations that were there to fortify the Chop People Their Money team, the spokesperson-in-chief for the monologue who says that if Jesus walked on water, Joshua walks on air. Now that the theater is over, now that the drama is over, now that the girls who used to be boys when they were in the bush have apparently surrendered the guns they never held, now that across Ambazonia, the people of Ambazonia and the restoration forces of Ambazonia have sent the unmistakable signal to the world that our people continue their march towards BOYO, can you now face reality? Can you now come to the negotiating table and realize the extent to which your effort at breaking the people of Ambazonia has strengthened their resolve? You don't have an army with which to face, let alone defeat the people of Ambazonia, Joshua. There isn't an army in the world out there that could defeat us on this matter. So come to your senses, come to reality. And the world that's waiting for us to yield, the world should stop waiting. All the diplomatic tomfoolery that we're hearing from the United Nations should stop. Our people don't need international humanitarian aid. Our people need safety in their homes, security. They need to be able to return to their lives, and we don't need any humanitarian enterprise to be set up in Ambazonia. Our people will fend for themselves, and we will provide for other people if they need. So stop setting up a permanent humanitarian and refugee project in Ambazonia. Tell Nkunkuma to move his forces out of Ambazonia, and there will be no need to kill anyone. During the 1 week when the monologue was ongoing, when all the Atango boys were taken out of Ambazonia and brought to Ngola for the parade, the total halt in the harassment of the people of Ambazonia, in hostage-taking, in kidnappings, sent a clear signal to whoever needed to know that the people of Ambazonia are not involved with this. Now we await to read the fictional final communiques, those pre-prepared statements that outline all the lies you want to tell the world about the dialogue that never was. We expect to hear you say that you consulted with hundreds of thousands. Wait a moment. You consulted with millions of Ambazonians, and all of them said they wanted you to do very little decentralization, very slowly. And if they wanted federalism, they wanted federalism of 20 states. Just lay it out there so everybody can know that the monologue did not produce the mountain you thought it would, just an anthill. From our studios here in Washington, D.C., our producer is Jeff McCoy. Our music today is from Ken Wanaku, the monk from Balikumato, William Ford, an ambassador of blessed memory, Eric Matisse on the web at soundimage.org, and Prince Ajua Alemanji of Ajam Sonic Kitron, USA. Ambazonia Calling is a joint production of Africa Freedom Network, the Missions Tribune, and Compass Free Press. You can find us on the web at www.themissionstribune.com, www.compassfreepress.com, and www.africafreedomnetwork.com. Next Sunday is another day. Until then, keep the spirit, keep the faith, keep up the fight for justice and independence for Ambazonia. Stay Amba strong.